But what if I told you that in 2025, Filipinos working abroad might wake up to find their visas canceled, their jobs gone, and a one-way ticket home, whether they like it or not? Sounds like a bad dream, right? Well, it's happening. And not just in one country, 10 nations are tightening their grip, making it nearly impossible for Filipinos to stay. Who's behind this? Why is it happening now? And most importantly, are you at risk? Stick around, because what we're about to reveal will change everything. Oh, and real quick, our stats show that 99% of you watching aren't subscribed yet. Be a legend and hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on eye-opening stories like this. All right, let's get into it. You ever wake up one morning, stretch, grab your coffee and think, another day, another paycheck, only to find out your entire job just disappeared overnight? Well, that's exactly what happened to thousands of Filipino workers in Malaysia. Malaysia, once a dream destination for OFWs, just flipped the script. In February 2025, the government cracked down hard on foreign labor, making it nearly impossible for Filipinos to renew work permits or even find new jobs. And guess what? If you don't have a valid permit, you've got 30 days to leave. That's right, 3 decades of working your butt off doesn't matter. Pack your bags. For years, Filipinos played a huge role in Malaysia's workforce. From retail and hospitality to domestic work, the pay was good, the culture was familiar, and hey, it's just a short flight from home. Win-win, right? But now, Malaysia is enforcing its Malaysians First employment policy, which, if we're being honest, translates to, sorry foreigners, you're no longer needed. The result? Thousands of Filipinos out of work. Mass layoffs in retail, hotels, and domestic services. Many given just 30 days to leave. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse, some workers haven't even been paid their final salaries. Imagine working for months only to be told, sorry, we can't pay you, safe travels. Paulo, a father of 3 from Davao, worked as a hotel concierge in Kuala Lumpur for 7 years. He loved his job, helping tourists, giving recommendations, and most importantly, sending money back home to support his family. Then one day, boom, termination notice. I walked into work like it was any other day, Paulo says, shaking his head. Next thing I know, I'm in a meeting with HR being told I have 30 days to pack up and leave. No warning, no severance, just good luck. And here's the real kicker. Paulo still had unpaid rent, bills, and his kids' tuition to cover. If Malaysia can suddenly shut its doors on foreign workers, who's next? This sets a dangerous precedent for other countries with high numbers of OFWs. The trend is clear. Governments are prioritizing locals and cutting back on foreign labor. So what now? Do Filipinos head home with no job security or take a gamble and find work elsewhere? Let's say you were in Paulo's shoes. Would you return home or try to fight for a new job in a different country? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And before we proceed, smash that thumbs up button so you never miss an update on crucial global events affecting Filipinos. Trust me, you'll want to stay ahead of what's coming next. Hong Kong's skyline may be dazzling, but for thousands of Filipinos, the city's glow is starting to fade. For years, Hong Kong was a second home to Filipino workers, especially domestic helpers. They became part of households, raised children, and kept homes running while their employers juggled their fast-paced city lives. But now, the welcome mat is being pulled right out from under them. If you're a Filipino worker in Hong Kong, here's what you're up against. Fewer job openings, the Hong Kong government is slashing the domestic helper quota, meaning fewer opportunities for OFWs. Stricter income rules for employers. Many Hong Kong families now can't even afford to hire helpers legally. Housing restrictions are pushing workers out. New policies limit where domestic workers can stay, forcing many into expensive or unsafe living situations. And just like that, thousands of Filipinos are being pushed out of a city they helped build. Lonnie has been working in Hong Kong for over a decade. She helped raise 3 kids in her employer's home, and they even call her Tita Lonnie. But last month, she got the news she never expected. We love you, but we can't keep you. Her employer's income no longer meets the government's new hiring requirement. That means Lonnie has 2 choices. Find a new employer fast or pack her bags and return to the Philippines with nothing. I don't want to go home yet, Lonnie says. I have kids to support and I've built a life here. But with the government tightening its grip, her future in Hong Kong is hanging by a thread. Here's the kicker. The demand for Filipino domestic workers is still high. Families want to hire them, but the new policies make it nearly impossible for middle-class employers to meet the strict financial requirements. And now, some desperate employers are turning to under-the-table hiring, which puts OFWs at risk of exploitation, abuse, and deportation. Is this just the beginning? If Hong Kong is one of the biggest employers of Filipinos, can start forcing them out, what's stopping other countries from doing the same? And if you were Lonnie, what would you do? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and while you're here, hit that subscribe button because the next country on this list, it might just be even worse. Stay tuned. Do you ever watch a K-drama where everything seems perfect, then bam, the main character gets blindsided by a breakup, a family secret, or a long-lost twin? Well, if you're an OFW in South Korea, you're living that plot twist right now. Because in 2025, South Korea is pulling a classic "it's not you, it's me" breakup move on thousands of Filipino workers. New rules, fewer jobs, a surprise exam no one studied for, and just like that, the dream of working in Korea hanging by a thread. If you're an OFW in South Korea, 2025 is serving up some harsh reality checks. The EA9 visa getting erased faster than your ex's number after a bad breakup. Factories swapping out humans for robots that don't ask for overtime pay. New Korean language exams because suddenly hard work isn't enough. You need to write an essay about kimchi in perfect Hangul. And just like that, thousands of Filipinos are staring at a ticking time bomb on their job contracts. Yomar moved to South Korea 6 years ago. He works in a factory, assembling electronic parts he doesn't understand, but knows cost more than his entire savings account. Life was good, until one day his boss gave him news colder than a Seoul winter. Your contract won't be renewed, government rules. Juma thought it was a joke. Then he realized the joke was on him. His only chance to stay? Pass the Korean language exam. But let's be real, he spent more time memorizing BTS lyrics than full sentences. Oppa Sargay won't exactly help him explain industrial safety procedures. I can fix a machine blindfolded, Jomar says, but now I have to write an essay about Korean history just to keep my job. If he fails, it's game over. His dream of bringing his family out of poverty, hanging by a thread? South Korea isn't even trying to sugarcoat it. Robots are the future, humans optional. Priority, Koreans first, foreigners, well, good luck. Visa renewal? Not without passing the hardest test of your life. And it's not just factory workers feeling the pressure. Even Filipino caregivers and domestic helpers are watching jobs disappear. The government's new rule, families must earn a higher income to be eligible to hire foreign workers. Translation, fewer employers equals fewer jobs. For thousands of OFWs, time is running out. Some are scrambling to qualify for other visas, others packing their bags, unsure of what comes next. And here's the real WTF moment. If South Korea can cut foreign workers this fast, which country is next? Do you think South Korea is doing the right thing? And before we move on, smash that like button because the next country on this list is making life even harder for Filipinos. Stay tuned. You know that feeling when everything in your life is going great and then bam, out of nowhere, disaster strikes? Yeah, that's exactly what's happening to thousands of Filipinos in Japan right now. Take Raymond, for example. 3 years ago, he was living the dream in Tokyo. Steady job, good pay, and enough extra cash for weekend ramen binges. But in 2025, Japan decided to flip the script. One morning, his boss called him into the office. The vibe, not good. Raymond-san, I'm sorry, but we can't renew your contract. Just like that, the land of the rising sun became the land of rising problems. If you think your ex was ruthless, wait until you hear what Japan just did to OFWs. Yep. Caregiver training program, gone. Thousands of jobs, vanished. New taxes, foreign workers now paying more than locals. Visa renewals, stricter than a bouncer at an exclusive nightclub. And if you thought, okay, I'll just switch jobs, Japan said, nope, hospitality, construction, and even manufacturing are all tightening their visa requirements. Translation, thousands of Filipinos who spent years working here are suddenly packing their bags. Even for those who do manage to keep their jobs, Japan's cost of living is hitting harder than a sumo wrestler in full force. Rent, sky high. Food, you might have to sell a kidney for sushi. Train fare, at this point walking sounds good. Filipinos who once thrived in Japan are now struggling just to survive. With his contract gone, Raymond has two choices. Go home and start from scratch, but after years of building a life in Japan, this feels like a brutal reset. try to stay, but with Japan's strict immigration crackdown, it's looking next to impossible. And here's the kicker, Japan isn't the only country doing this. More and more nations are making life harder for OFWs. So what do you think? Is Japan making the right move, or is this a huge mistake? Let us know in the comments and smash that like button, because the next country on this list, it's an even bigger shocker. Stay tuned. Tess thought she had time. She had one more year left on her contract, just enough to finish building the house she started in the Philippines, just enough to see her youngest graduate, just enough to make all those years of sacrifice worth it. But then, one morning, she woke up to a message that made her stomach drop. Lahat ng domestic workers over 40, pinapawi na agad, wala nang contract renewals. What? She had given Kuwait 18 years of her life, nearly 2 decades of service, of missed birthdays, of enduring homesickness, only to be told, pack your bags, you're done. And here's the worst part. She's not the only one. Thousands of Filipinos, nurses, service workers, and household helpers are now being forced out of Kuwait, no questions asked. Mass deportation of long-term OFWs, Filipino domestic workers, and service staff over 40 years old are no longer allowed to renew contracts. Overstayers face hefty fines and immediate deportation. If your contract expires and you don't leave immediately, you could be slapped with fines or even banned from returning. No exceptions, no safety net. Filipinos who have worked there for decades are being sent home with nothing. For years, Kuwait needed OFWs. They relied on Filipino workers to run their households, hospitals, and businesses. Now, they're tossing them out like they never mattered. Let's be real, most OFWs didn't go to Kuwait for fun. They left their families, endured low wages, harsh conditions, and sometimes abuse just to send money home. Now, with no job, no savings, and no prospects, where are they supposed to go? And here's the bigger problem. This isn't just happening in Kuwait. More countries are tightening their immigration rules, making it harder for Filipinos to work abroad. So what now? Where can OFWs turn? If you think this is unfair, smash that like button, because the next country on this list is even worse. Manny thought he had it all figured out. For 7 years, he worked in a Taiwanese electronics factory, assembling microchips faster than you could say, pass me the soldering iron. The pay was good, the work was stable, and he had a solid routine, until one day, his manager made an announcement that sent chills down his spine. Starting next month, all foreign workers must pass a new skills test to renew their contracts. If you fail, you're out. Excuse me? A test? Manny hadn't taken an exam since high school, and now his entire future depended on one? But here's the kicker. It wasn't just him. Thousands of Filipino workers in Taiwan are facing the same crisis. Massive layoffs in factories. Taiwan is cutting 60% of foreign factory workers. That's tens of thousands of jobs gone. The pass or pack your bags exam. Every OFW must pass a skills verification test to stay employed. Fail, you're on the next flight home. Automation taking over. Machines are replacing human workers, making it even harder for OFWs to compete for jobs. It's like Taiwan looked at hardworking Filipinos and said, thanks for the help, but we've got robots now. Bye-bye. This isn't just about losing a job, it's about losing everything. Manny had loans to pay, a family to support, and zero backup plan. The thought of going back to the Philippines with no work, no savings, and no options? Terrifying. Some OFWs are desperately trying to switch industries, but guess what? Taiwan's job market is closing in on foreign workers. If you're not a local, good luck finding work. And here's the worst part. This is just the beginning. More countries are making it harder for Filipinos to stay employed abroad. Taiwan might be shutting its doors now, but who's next? If this angers you, smash that like button, because the next country on this list, it might be even worse. Stay tuned. Well, if there's one thing OFWs know, it's this. When a country opens its doors to foreign workers, it won't stay open forever. That's exactly what's happening in Bahrain right now. For years, Filipinos have built lives in Bahrain, working in construction, hospitality, and domestic work, sending money home, and even bringing their families over. But in 2025, the rules are changing. And for thousands of Filipinos, those changes aren't just inconvenient, they're life-altering. Foreign workers are being phased out. Bahrain is reducing its reliance on migrant labor, leaving thousands of OFWs wondering, where do we go next? No more property ownership. Filipinos who saved for years to buy homes in Bahrain, that dream just went up in smoke. Family visa cancellations, many OFW who finally reunited with their families are now being forced to separate once again. It's like Bahrain is saying thanks for your hard work, but you're no longer welcome to stay. Filipinos in Bahrain now face a painful choice. Stay in risk uncertainty, with stricter job markets, housing restrictions, and no guarantee of long-term security. Return to the Philippines, but with what opportunities? For some, the decision is clear. It's time to go. A growing number of OFWs are packing up, realizing that Bahrain no longer offers stability. But where do they go next? Some are eyeing other Gulf nations, while others are looking beyond the Middle East entirely. One thing is certain, this is a massive shift in Bahrain's workforce, and it's only getting started. And if you think Bahrain's policies are harsh, wait until you hear what the next country on this list is doing to OFWs. It's even worse. Stay tuned. For years, Saudi Arabia has been like that one rich Tito who gives out thick Christmas envelopes. Filipinos went there, worked hard, and sent money home like champions. But 2025? Oh boy, it's like that Tito suddenly said, "Wala na akong pera, bahala kayo sa buhay niyo." Yep, things just got real for OFWs in Saudi. Saudi has always had its Saudization policy, which basically means let's hire our own people instead of foreigners. But this year, they cranked it up to 100. And now, 12 major industries are off limits to foreigners. Imagine working in customer service, retail, or finance for years. Then one morning, HR calls you in like, "Salamat sa servisyo mo, pero baby na." Just like that, jobs are being snatched away. New rules for domestic workers. If you're a housekeeper or nanny, renewing your contract now feels like applying for a NASA mission. More paperwork, more fees, and higher rejection rates. Some workers are being sent home mid-contract with zero warning. Taxes on remittances. Sending money back home, Saudi wants a piece of the action. More fees, more deductions. Making OFWs feel like their hard-earned reals are just vanishing. Less social freedom, community gatherings, church services, even small Pinoy get-togethers, restricted. It's getting harder for OFWs to find comfort in their support groups. Imagine a Bawal NK Pan policy. Wild, right? For decades, Filipinos have endured Saudi's extreme heat, 14-hour workdays, and missing out on salo-salo back home, all because the pay made it worth it. But now, no job security, more money being taken away, fewer opportunities for Filipinos. Many OFWs are already packing up, some willingly, others forced. Even those who've built a life in Saudi for 20 plus years are asking, "Teka, worth it, Papa?" And here's the real kicker. Saudi isn't even the worst one yet. The next country on our list, let's just say their new rules make Saudi's changes look like a friendly hug. Stay tuned, you'll want to hear this one. Can you imagine uprooting your life, leaving everything behind to chase a dream in a foreign country, only to find that dream slowly slipping away? That's exactly what's happening to tens of thousands of Filipino workers in the United Arab Emirates. By 2025, the future is looking uncertain, and you won't want to miss how this is changing lives. Stick around, don't forget to smash that like button if you want to stay updated. The UAE, once a golden destination for Filipino workers in hospitality, retail, and government jobs, is now facing a shift. The laws introduced in 2025 have led to the elimination of 8,500 Filipino-held positions. Retail and administrative jobs, once filled by Filipinos, are now reserved exclusively for Emiratis. What does that mean for the Filipino workforce? Fewer opportunities and greater difficulty in maintaining livelihoods. Meet Maria, a 35-year-old retail worker from Davao. She moved to the UAE 5 years ago to build a future for her kids. She worked as a supervisor in a top Dubai mall, sending money back home, dreaming of a better life. But in 2025, everything changed. The new laws left Maria and 8,500 other Filipinos without jobs. It's not just about jobs disappearing. Visa restrictions make it harder to reunite with family. Maria can't even bring her children to join her. Now, she's faced with a heartbreaking decision: stay or return to the Philippines. Let's talk return to the Philippines. Here's the reality. By 2025, tens of thousands of Filipino workers will be forced to leave or return home. The UAE is no longer the safe haven it once was, job opportunities are shrinking, and family reunification is becoming more challenging. Many Filipinos are now faced with an uncertain future. Some are choosing to leave for other countries, while others are returning to the Philippines, a country already struggling with its own challenges. But here's the big question: how is this affecting the entire Gulf region? And what's the future for Filipino workers overseas? Stick around because we'll dive into more shocking facts and updates. The UAE's shift is creating ripples in the Gulf. With over 700,000 Filipinos living and working there, the impact of losing 85,000 jobs is massive. And the restrictions aren't just limited to the UEA. They could set the tone for other Gulf countries facing similar challenges. What do you think about these changes? Are they fair? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it. And if you found this useful, smash that like button to support the channel. Your thoughts matter here. What happens when a country that once welcomed you with open arms starts closing its doors? Well, that's the harsh reality for thousands of Filipino workers in Qatar today. By 2025, Qatar's landscape is drastically different. With fewer opportunities and a hiring ban on Filipino workers, many are facing the unthinkable, being forced to leave the country without a chance to return. Stay tuned to find out why Qatar is now the top country sending Filipinos back home. And make sure you smash that like button if you want to stay updated on this ever-changing situation. Qatar, once a thriving destination for Filipino workers in construction, retail, and hospitality sectors, has drastically changed. The 2022 FIFA World Cup left a massive mark on the country's economy. With fewer projects and job opportunities, thousands of OFWs are being laid off. To make matters worse, Qatar has introduced hiring bans, which means once Filipinos leave, they can't return. It's a game changer for many OFWs who thought they'd found their long-term home. Let me introduce you to Jason, a 39-year-old construction worker from Cebu. He moved to Qatar 6 years ago to build a life for his wife and 3 children. Jason was part of a large team working on major stadiums and infrastructure for the World Cup. His dreams were big. He saved money, planned to bring his family over, and even hoped to start a small business when he returned home. But by 2025, everything changed. After the World Cup, Qatar's job market began to shrink, and Jason was laid off. But the worst part? Because of the hiring ban, he can't return to his job. Now Jason's back in Cebu, unsure of what his future holds. Jason's not alone. As the situation worsens, over 300,000 Filipino workers are expected to return home by 2025. And that's where the big question lies. Will there be enough jobs in the Philippines to support these returning workers? Here's the deal. Qatar is now the #1 country forcing Filipinos to return home. And with limited opportunities waiting for them in the Philippines, many are looking to other countries for work. The job market in Qatar has collapsed and the future remains uncertain. According to reports, over 300,000 OFWs from Qatar will be heading back to the Philippines seeking new opportunities, but will the local economy be ready for them? But here's a twist you don't want to miss. In the next video, we'll discuss where these returning workers might go next and which countries are opening their doors to Filipino workers. You won't want to miss this. Stay tuned. So, what do you think? What's next for Filipino workers returning from Qatar? Will the Philippines be able to handle the influx of workers? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more updates on this situation. Your thoughts matter here.